What's up, everybody? Today we have a generator. We need to take the power head off. So what we're going to do, this is going to be how to remove it. That's about it. If you want to see the story behind this generator, why we need to do it, watch the other video. Don't worry, I shamelessly plugged this video and that one too. So yeah. Anyway, so what I did so far is there's usually a plate or a cover. I removed that. Unfortunately, sometimes there is just like a quick connect or disconnect or something that you could just pull off and disconnect everything, but no, we're not lucky. Usually it's right there. If you could just pull it out, that's best. But if you can't, then what you end up having to do is this. I would highly suggest either taking a pen and paper and writing it down, taking a picture, marking it, whatever you need to do, but you need to remove the wires so you can remove this whole assembly out, because you need to kind of get out of it. I would really highly recommend a picture and multiple of those from different angles, because you'd be surprised how often one wire hides behind another in a picture. Then once you do that, we're going to remove them. So I'm going to do that. Yours is going to be specific to yours, so I'm just not going to go over mine very much. So I'm going to go ahead and remove it. That way we can get our get started, more or less. Something I will mention is two things. One, if you could put the screws back where they were, like in my case, there was a grounding screw right here, and I just put it back. The screws that held the cover on, putting it back now. It just keeps them from getting lost. Same thing with the nuts holding the wires on. Especially if they're different, like the heads are a different size, it could just make things a real pain. So next, we're going to want to remove the center. For me, it's a 12 millimeter. Yours might be different. I would recommend using an impact. If you don't, you're going to have to lock up the cylinder somehow. But either way, before we start, we're also going to want to remove the spark plug wire from the spark plug, just because we don't want it to accidentally start. There we go. I don't think it will, because every single time, even warm, this particular one, you have to use choke, but you know, why take that chance? There we have it. Now, you're probably gonna have to fill the cylinder with rope anyway, but we'll get down to that point later. Put this off to the side. We'll not use this, but we potentially might take a couple details off of this. Next should be 4 screws. It's going to hold everything on. In my case, I even have a couple mounts on the bottom. So I'm going to take the mounts off. I'm going to take these 4 off. I need to support everything, because once you take this off, there's nothing supporting the engine from going boop. So I'm going to shove like a block, brick, I don't know, something to kind of keep it level, because I do not want that to happen, not right now. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to remove everything, and then we'll come back to this part. Now let's take these off. I'm showing this part because of this reason. Also, don't mix these up with the one we took out earlier. I mean, it's really hard to, but don't just get confused. But anyway, my grounding wire connected to one of these. That is usually how they set these up, but just in case yours is not, there's a separate grounding wire somewhere that's attaching to the frame. Then you're going to want to remove that before you do anything else. Last thing you want is to have to deal with that nonsense. So this is the part that you're going to have to get a little strong on. I think everything just kind of came apart, so that's good. I don't really like these cables right there, but excuse me. Okay, I'm going to lift this off really gently. I do not want to damage any of the windings inside. I'm going to have to do that with in a different corner, you're not going to see anything. This is a really tricky, not fun part here. So have everything off. You take off the rotor, and how this is held on, it's not being held on by a bolt or anything. It's being held on by a taper on the shaft. It's like a press fit, so just tension holding it on. You're not gonna, I mean, you potentially could just manhandle it off there, but I'm just cleaning up these, like the little grease off of everything. It's not a good idea. Slip rings need to be cleaned. Anyway, so easiest way is going to be this. If you don't care about it, give yourself a good a decent sized hammer, and you can whack it right there and it should come right off. Boom, done. If you're recycling, that's the easiest way. If you want to use this in the future, I got lucky. There are threads in here. That doesn't always happen. So you're gonna have to figure out what exactly what type of threads they are, which I'm gonna have to do right now, and then get a bolt that isn't very long, maybe 2-3 inches, and then well, I'll go over the next step. If there are no threads in here, then what you're going to want to do is you're going to have to tap some threads in there. Now that's not as hard as it is, as hard as it sounds. Most tap sets will come with a something that will fit in there. Just know that you will have to get the right bolt to go with that tap. So I'm going to find out what thread this is, and then we'll take it over from there. Not 100% sure what thread that is, but it's this bolt will fit in there just fine. Perfect. And as you can see, I have about 1.5 inches, 1 3/4 of threading I can go. Well, I guess not all the way, but that's gonna be more than enough for my purpose. It stopped right about there. So what am I going to do now? Well, this is the part where we have to figure it out. You either need to take this and measure it. This is the one that came out of the center. As you can see, it slides right through, and what it actually threads into is the crank. So what you need to do is you need to find a rod that is a little bit thinner than this, so it doesn't mess up the threading, and it can go all the way down into the solid part of the crank. So usually if you take the length and then you have to cut off maybe like a 1/2 inch, you can shove that in there, and we can do this. We can continue from then forward. If you do not want to do that, because there is always a likelihood of damaging the threads, and that's a real pain, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tip this up on its front. There's no oil on it, so I don't have to worry about that, but I want it kind of hanging, so this is going up and down. It's just going to be easier for my purpose. I'll show you why. This is the scary part. So there's really nothing to pull on, so can't use a puller. What you end up having to do is, if you take the rod, push it down, you then press against the rod with the bolt. The problem is if it bends, it's a real pain to take out. So what I did is I put a little Marvel mystery oil down there until it gets almost to the very, very top. I took the bolt that I'm going to thread in there. I wrapped like 12, 14 wraps with Teflon. So I'm going to use hydraulic pressure to hopefully get this going. Now, if you do it this way, I would highly suggest getting an impact and doing it quickly, because the oil, you're putting pressure in oil, so you're going to want to make sure that it's doing going where you want it. And if you can influence as best as you can to just go down, that pressure will then push the kind of break the seal, that's the best. This could take a couple times. Very rarely does it work the first time, but it is best to kind of hold this. I like to use a glove because I don't really want to have any oils or anything that's in my hand contaminate it. Also, because we are using oil, which you could also use water if you want to. I don't like to because oil is thicker and water is a lot easier to mess up on. And there we have it. Boom. See how nice that is? No damage. The only thing that we used was a liquid, and that's it. And let's just take this back off. Oops. The threads are still good. Threads are still good. We don't have to worry about it. We have a completely intact and good to use piece next. Dirty and oily, but it's intact. That's the key part right there. So this is how you remove it. From here forward, whatever you need to do, continue on. Why do you need to do this? Well, if you have any type of internal engine work, you're going to have to do this. Leaky seal, whether it be the crank seal or the crank cover seal or the sump seal or whatever type of seal you have, it's going to be difficult. So you have to take this off to do so. But hopefully if you follow these instructions, you'll be able to take it off. Like I said, if you just don't care about it, you just want to take it off quickly, a hammer to the side of that, perfect solution. You don't have to worry about it. It comes right off. Just make sure it's a quick, fast blow, kind of like as if you're taking off a flywheel. Other than that, you should be ready to go. You have effectively removed the whole generator head assembly with the exception of just one final piece, but you should be ready. So like I said, if you want to see the full story of this machine, watch the video. Other than that, if you have any questions, leave a comment below. Only other thing I would say is if you do tip this over as we are doing so right now, I would definitely drain the oil. I would definitely take the carb off, or at the very least drain the carb from fuel, otherwise you will have a spill. You don't want the spill. And if you're doing it like me, I have like something I tied it to. Didn't have any ropes, I just used some old fuel line, but I didn't want it to fall backwards because any damage can result in no power outlet or output, and then you have a whole different set of problems. Okay, well, I'll see you next time. Definitely subscribe, follow me on Small Engine 101, and I'll see you next video. Have a good night.